Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're building the definitive enterprise architecture for AWS Identity Center. We're moving well beyond the basics to construct an enterprise-grade framework for security, governance, and serious scale.
So let's start with a problem I'm sure many of you have faced. Your company is growing on AWS, right? You've got developers, security teams, finance people, all needing different kinds of access across dozens, maybe even hundreds of accounts. Trying to manage that the old way isn't just a headache, it's completely unsustainable. This is the exact challenge that AWS Identity Center is built to solve.
First things first, we need to kind of reframe how we think about this service. Identity Center is not just some convenient single sign-on portal. In a real enterprise architecture, it is the single authoritative control plane for all human access into your AWS environment.
All right, here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll kick things off with the fundamentals, we'll deconstruct the components, and then, step by step, we'll build our way up to an advanced zero-trust model that you can actually use in your own organization.
So, let's start with its fundamental role. The real power of Identity Center is that it controls the entire access lifecycle. We're talking from the moment a user is identified all the way to the final audit trail of everything they did.
This flow right here is the critical piece to understand. Identity Center creates this clear, unbroken chain. It makes sure that every single action taken in AWS is traceable all the way back to a specific, real human being, giving you one central place for control and for auditing.
Okay, now let's pop the hood and look at the internal mechanics. Really understanding these components and how they fit together is absolutely essential if you want to design a scalable architecture. We'll clear up a few common points of confusion along the way.
This is the logical flow of access. It all starts with a user or a group. They get an assignment, which is what connects a permission set to a specific AWS account. Now notice this really important detail. A user is never directly associated with a role. That assignment is the crucial abstraction layer. It's your control point for enterprise governance.
Okay, this distinction is so important, and honestly, it's a point where a lot of people get tripped up. A permission set is this central template. It's the blueprint you define just one time. The IAM roles, those are the actual instances that Identity Center automatically creates and manages for you in every single target account. This is huge because it prevents configuration drift.
Let's walk through the global architecture and see how Identity Center acts as that top-level control point in a mature, multi-account environment, just like you'd find in any large enterprise.
A really solid best practice is to structure your permission sets in 3 layers. Think of Layer 1 as your global baseline, maybe some read-only access for everyone. Layer 2 is for job functions, like your DevOps or security teams. And then Layer 3 gives you that granular project-specific access. And the beauty is, all of these are managed centrally, which gives you amazing transparency and control.
Now, of course, most enterprises aren't starting with a blank slate, right? You already have a corporate identity provider, or IDP, something like Azure AD or Okta. So let's look at the very clean division of responsibilities when you connect that IDP to AWS.
The takeaway here is so simple and powerful. Your corporate IDP, it manages who the users are, their lifecycle, their group memberships, their MFA. Then AWS Identity Center takes that identity and manages what they can do inside AWS. This separation of concerns is the absolute core of the recommended enterprise identity landing zone pattern.
Okay, this is where Identity Center becomes incredibly powerful. By using attributes that get passed from our IDP, we can achieve a dynamic zero-trust security model automatically. We do this using something called session tags.
So step 1 happens on the identity side. As a user logs in, Identity Center essentially stamps their temporary session with attributes from your IDP. Things like their department, their cost center, maybe a project name. Then, step 2 happens over on the resource itself. So, for example, an S3 bucket policy can be written to allow access only if the bucket's own department tag perfectly matches the department tag from the user's session. If they don't match, access is just denied. Simple as that.
And this is the real game changer. Your security model now scales automatically. DevOps can only touch DevOps resources. Finance can only touch finance resources. The key insight here is you do all of this without having to create and manage hundreds of specific IAM roles, which is a massive operational nightmare. This is security that adapts to your organization, not the other way around.
Finally, let's distill all of this down into a clear set of actionable best practices. These are the foundational things you really need to implement for an enterprise-grade governance posture.
And look, these aren't just suggestions. They are core tenets of a modern cloud identity strategy. This means privileged access should be just in time, temporary and approved, not permanent. You must regularly review who has access to what. And you must use organizational guardrails, like service control policies, to enforce security from the top down.
But there's one rule that really stands above all the others. It's a foundational, absolutely non-negotiable principle for any modern enterprise architecture on AWS.
So, the crucial point is this. Permanent IAM users with long-lived access keys are considered an anti-pattern and a major security risk. All human access has to be federated through Identity Center to leverage temporary credentials. Period, full stop.
By applying these patterns, you now have the complete blueprint. You can design and implement a secure, scalable, and fully auditable identity framework for any enterprise, no matter how big or complex it is.
This architecture gives you the foundation for real cloud security and governance. It's not the end goal, it's the starting point. So the real question is, now that you've secured the front door, what incredible things are you going to enable your teams to build with this newfound safety and agility?